joined once again by editorial page editor Paul Gigot and editorial board member Joe Rago. And we're going to now hone in on the politics of today's very, very surprising Supreme Court decision 5-4 to uphold the individual mandate and Obamacare. I'll go first to you, Paul, on the politics here. What does this mean for the president? Does it revitalize or give a boost to his campaign here as he looks toward November?
Look, it's a big victory. There's no question, because if the Supreme Court had overturned the law, as 4 justices wanted to do, that would have been, they cut the heart and soul out of his signal achievement, the one that he said was central to his legacy, and he believes is central to his legacy, because he believes his legacy involves expanding the size of the government safety net and the government expansion over the middle class. So this is a big victory. It means that now, fundamentally, if people want to overturn Obamacare, they have to win the election. Mitt Romney has to win the election. Well, otherwise, it will go into force in 2013 and 2014.
Well, let's turn to Mitt Romney. Joe, you've written a lot about him, his campaign, what he did in Massachusetts. You know, how do you judge his proposals for Medicare reform, healthcare reform in America? Has he presented a good alternative to Obamacare, which he really has to do now that we know that the law is moving ahead?
Right, and Mary, you're forgetting that he actually pioneered the prototype for the Affordable Care Act in Massachusetts as governor. But last March, he put out a pretty good outline, a sketch of kind of reforming entitlements, more consumer choice and competition in the health markets. He hasn't really emphasized that. He's played it a lot safe, not taking a lot of political risks. And we don't have a statement yet out of the campaign, as far as we know, on how he's reacting to this. But I think it raises the stakes. He needs to make healthcare part of the reason to elect him in the first place.
That's right. This is a utterly crucial point to Mary, because it means that he has to start to make healthcare the centerpiece of his campaign. He's got the economy. That's going to be point number 1. But this has to be really the sidecar. This has to be the second argument that he makes and linked to it, because it obviously has an effect on the economy, as we said. I think it's dampening job creation. There's no question, particularly in small businesses. But if Romney is not, he should take this as incentive to make this a central argument, because it's still unpopular. This bill is not going to become suddenly popular because the Supreme Court said, okay, it's constitutional as a tax, okay? That's not going to suddenly, oh boy, well great, that's a relief. The bill's still going to be unpopular. He's got to make the argument, though. Romney's got to make the argument. It could help him, because if he makes that argument, because there's still the majority of voters out there, particularly independent voters, who don't like this bill.
Paul, what about the swing states? How does this play in Florida? How does this play in places where Mr. Romney has to really win?
Look, I think that the majority of the American public in every poll dislikes this. The independents, at least a plurality. I haven't looked at the recent polls, but I think a majority in many cases dislikes it. So swing states or other states, majority of the country dislikes it. Make the argument, Mr. Romney. Take it to the voters. If he doesn't, he's going to be put on his back foot, and he's missing a big opportunity.
Yeah, and I might add that we had a great editorial titled GOP Care very recently. If you want to look it up, again, go to WSJ.com/opinion.